If you are interested in starting a spiritual journey and you're not sure where to start, I have some information that might interest you on how to go about starting this journey to your spiritual awakening. If that sounds like something you're interested in, then keep on watching. Hi friends and welcome. So today's topic will be how to start your spiritual awakening journey. But this, I have to add a little caveat here because this is the guide, my proposed guide to how to start your spiritual journey, but it is for the self-directed spiritualist, meaning that you do not necessarily have a creed that you ascribe to or a practice that you pledge allegiance to, or deity or energies that you have promised total allegiance to. You're pretty much self-practicing, where you do have relationships. You are not bound by oath to any of them. Okay. Now, what are the benefits of having a spiritual awakening? The benefits of spiritual awakening would be really helpful, especially for those of you who feel like your environment seems to be feeding you information that you know is contrary to who you are. You feel like there's something more to be experienced in life, that all you're told is not all there is. There's lots of hidden agendas, half-truths, or misspoken truths in favor of whoever is spinning them to you. Then of course this video is for you. Now, my recommendation on how to start your spiritual awakening journey will be to know thyself. The benefits of knowing yourself would be to undo other people's programming that you will have to shed, because right now, as you're watching this, your personality is a composition. Who you think you are, which we call your personality, composition of what other people have told you that you are, starting with your parents. I'm going to give you an abstract example, but let's see if that works here, and I'll throw another one in if that doesn't go in all the way. For instance, people would try to categorize and say a Pisces is supposed to be undependable, have a lot of vices, problems with drugs and alcohol, probably a gambler, probably a cheater in a relationship, probably difficult to deal with, and the list goes on. And whenever I compare myself to these labels, I don't resonate with those examples. To put people in a box, and it's not their fault, they're not bad people for doing it, but you have to give them, just throw them just a little bit of benefit of doubt, because when you don't have the capacity to see the world for what it is, you tend to create little boxes of information so that you understand what you're looking at, which is what has been happening up till now. So it will give you, back to what I was saying about knowing yourself, it will give you the opportunity to shed all these ideas of who you think you are and really look within yourself to start the process, the journey, the creation, the ability to create yourself in the way you see yourself. It puts power back in your hands and takes it away, takes your energy away from all those people, all those agendas trying to define you, puts it back in your hand, and you can define yourself. Now, what are the tools to which we can understanding ourselves? Well, there are many tools. There's the tool of astrology, which I just mentioned right there. There's a tool of numerology. There's a tool of journaling. There's a tool of meditation. There's a tool of divination. There's a tool of therapy. Now, therapy is a really big overlooked one, because I have to be quite open and transparent and say not everyone would be able to have the strength to start off with meditation. Not everyone has the strength to start off with deep mystical things like I'm gonna give a rough example and say someone who just had an earth-shattering relationship that just brought them to their knees. Now they may decide, oh, I'm going to go into spirituality because I'm trying to get my relationship back, and they go into saging and go into crystals and start doing spell work and all kinds of things. Well, there is nothing wrong with these tools. The key here is that the person has still not faced themselves, and they may not have the strength to do it, which is why they are not running to these other tools as a way to avoid looking at themselves. Such a person, in my opinion, should probably consider therapy first if you can afford it. And for some people, you might have to start with basic journaling. Now, to expand on the tools of self-knowledge, meditation is my personal favorite because it allows you to take your shoulders down, relax into your body, and really pay attention to yourself, your thoughts and ideas, and get into the nitty-gritty of where did these ideas come from and what these ideas say about you. Is it you? Many of you don't know this, but your inner voice is formed between the ages of 1 to 7, and your inner voice is actually your mother's voice. So if your mother's voice was very calm and nurturing and beautiful and relaxing, that's what your inner voice would be. But if your mother unfortunately was struggling with her own mental health and psychological issues, you might find that your inner voice is quite harsh, quite demanding, quite putting you down, and at that point you should consider the help of a professional to change your inner voice and make it your friend. Now, there are different types of meditation. There are meditation for intentions, there are meditations to solve problems, there are meditations to get answers, there are meditations to understand yourself, which I already mentioned. I mentioned journaling briefly. There's other methods of journaling, and there's a lot of resources on YouTube on different types of journaling. Meditation, I also mentioned, there's a lot of resources also on YouTube for different kinds of meditation and how they are used and how to practice them. And then therapies and how to find a good therapist that speaks true to who you consider yourself to be right now. Like, I'm going to give you an example. I watched a video of a young lady that was really seeking therapy because she had great anxiety and had difficulty sleeping, and she found out that when she went to a therapist who did not look like her, she found herself explaining and teaching this therapist the effects of living under the label that has been ascribed to her by larger society. This person did not understand the labels. He didn't understand anything. So eventually she found a therapist that looked like her in every way and understood her experiences. So she spent less time explaining and more time receiving the help she needed. So that is just one caveat with therapy you need to be aware of. It is important to look for someone who looks like you, thinks like you, or has similar experiences like you, so that you spend less time explaining yourself. I'm going to give you a huge example right now. You go into the therapist, you'll be having a rough time at your job with your label, which is black woman. You walk into this therapist, he has his own label, it's called white man. And you sit down and you tell him, white man, I am going through a lot of stress at my job because of something called microaggression. He looks at you and says, what is that? And then you spend the whole 45 minutes and his fee is $450 an hour, explaining to him what a microaggression is. Now, if you had gone to a woman like you, black woman with that label, and you say the word microaggression, she understands right away what a microaggression is and how to help you overcome that, and what tools you can use to rid yourself of the effects and how to handle something like that. So that is just an example. Not to say that there are not people that understand that, but you will do yourself a favor to just seek people that understand where you are coming from. Okay. Now moving on, there are also other ways to get in touch with yourself, which is yoga. Yoga can be used to help you get in contact with your body. For those of us that always having difficulty staying in our body because we feel energies and emotions in a very strong way and we're trying to run away from it, yoga is one way to bring your mind back into your body and back into your breath so that you can settle into your body and now start to have that self-observation through the practice of yoga, because now your mind is quiet and you can observe your thoughts. So yoga is also a good tool. I've also mentioned journaling, I've mentioned meditation, different kinds of meditation. Now, the first step is knowing yourself. The second suggestion is learn how to ground yourself. Like I stated earlier from the point number 1, grounding is very useful for people who have problems remaining in their bodies, who have problems controlling their thoughts, who have problem finishing a train of thought, who have problem meditating because they can't even keep their mind quiet. Grounding is the practice of connecting yourself back with the earth, and my best example of this would be how we ground electricity. You put out a lightning rod and then it hits the rod and goes into the ground. Now with grounding, you are using techniques like visualization or just straight practical physical contact with the earth. You put your feet on the earth. There's a video here on YouTube called Earthing, in which the person in the video talks about this new revolutionary ideas that has been practiced millions of years by lots of people on this planet, but it's a revolutionary idea of how walking barefoot can help you decrease feelings of anxiety and depression. Wow, who knew? But here you go, ladies and gentlemen, grounding. So just put your feet on the ground, walk barefoot in your backyard, no one has to see you, or use a visualization practice with the goal of imagining yourself as a tree with your roots reaching all the way down into the center of the earth, and then you imagine the stress, the thoughts becoming sand. They can become sand, they can become they can fade away into your surroundings, they can become air, they can disappear, they can explode. However it suits your personality when you imagine something evaporating from you. For me, I imagine myself as a tree and I imagine all those thoughts going down. That is one way to ground yourself, because I understand people have been told to ground and protect their energy, and no one really knows what that means. So grounding is also a good tool to start your spiritual practice. You have to be grounded, meditate, stay in your body, pay attention to yourself, observe your thoughts, your feelings, find tools and strategies to deal with these thoughts or feelings, redefine yourself, and then we can embark on the other energetic practices in which to finally achieve your goal. And I would like to also add that spiritual enlightenment is not actually the goal. It's actually the start of the journey, because once you're enlightened, there are other things you need to do. There are other experiences you need to have. So that's just one step in a series of many other steps. And with grounding, I'm going to add one more thing, because many of us are coming from Religions in which prayer to an entity outside of ourselves was a big theme. On your spiritual journey, you will find that there is no one to pray to. There is no God outside of yourself, so to speak. You will find that when you do encounter energies, that they're there to exchange energy with you, work with you, but it is very important that you rid yourself of that idea of bowing to something, because at this level of spiritual practice, you are not bowing to anything, you are not worshiping anything, you're not worshiping anyone. You are owning your spirituality and owning your place in the universe and walking in that knowledge of, if there is a spirit that wants to work with you, it is a cooperation, it is not worship. You can worship if you choose, but here you don't have to. I also have to point out that there is no fear where I am. There is no fear at that level. If you're still experiencing fear and doubt, you need something external to pray to, then you might want to consider the religions where you were coming from, because that is how they function. They function with fear and telling you what you need to know. But if you're tired of feeling afraid, then this is the path for you. This is the third suggestion on how to start your spiritual awakening journey. And my third suggestion will be psychic defense. What is psychic defense? Now, as time goes on, you will learn that not only are you divesting yourself from ideas, ideologies, practices, boxes, labels that do no longer serve you, you will find that there are some codependent attachments which literally appear like physical cords once you look at them through your third eye. Energetic interference like cord attachments, wax, which are like little splatters of energy, how people manipulate energy to harm others, which is why I emphasize psychic defense, because on this side of the aisle, you are creating the life you want, and you have to understand that the people hold different concepts of what good and evil is. I will give you a rough example. There are those who live in a culture in which some people might consider them violent, where murder is completely normal, where boxing people in and taking from them and disenfranchising them and making it almost impossible for them to stand up for themselves is viewed as normal. And when those of you who believe in like live and let live, love and life philosophy are faced with that kind of stark realization, you really want to protect yourself, to make sure that you can enjoy your life and create it to the best of your ability without outside interference. Now you hear words like energetic cords, wax. I think the other one is wax. The other one is energy drain, energy vampires. When certain people are using your energy as a food source because that's what they have been taught. They don't know that energy is all around. All they need to do is just ground themselves basically and get energy that way, but they have been raised to believe that they have to get energy from other people. So how do you protect yourself from that? Of course, everyone is aware of the practices with sage and crystals. I might have mentioned it in another take. This is my second take with protection. Sage as not necessarily being the way I smoke my environment. Through meditation, I came to the revelation that it was sweetgrass, not sage. So I use sweetgrass. And as a psychic herbalist, there are other ways in which I use them, in which they don't necessarily have to be physically present for me to be able to absorb the benefits of that relationship with the environment. So now that we have mentioned the need for that, to avoid energy drain, avoid people just throwing their junk on you because they don't like you, the reasons are varied, but the bottom line is that it just interferes. And this is the reason why I'm re-recording this section, is because while we are taught how to remove the bonds, remove the cords, remove the attachments, remove the wax, we have not been really educated that when you remove, you have to replace it with another energy. You don't just remove it and leave it blank, because nature abhors a vacuum, which is what leads me to remember a post I saw on Facebook of this young lady who did all this work and did a spiritual bath to get rid of her prior lover. And then she did all these practices, and then she finds herself back in bed with him with a even more stronger bond. I'm not going to get into the details, but that's what happens when you do these removal rituals, these cord cutting rituals, these wax removals, these plug removals, these attachment removals, without replacing them with the energy. So once you start learning about protection, I highly encourage you to learn how to replace it. If you're watching this video and you would like me to expound further on any of the 3 points I have mentioned so far, which is getting in contact, getting in touch with yourself, the other one is grounding, and this one is protection, please leave comments in the comment section so I know what you're really interested in, and I can do my best to be a channel and resource to help you fill the gap in your knowledge base as far as that information is concerned. I will not only just present books and videos and all that, I will even channel the messages if that's what you need, but you have to say that's what you need so that I can provide it. So I highly encourage you to leave a comment on the topic. So remember, you have to remove and replace, remove and replace. You sage your house to tell with your voice entities that no longer serve you to leave. You also have to do something to bring in the energy of what you want. Don't just sage it and leave it there. So I'm looking this way because I feel like my camera is blurry. I will do my best to increase on the quality. Please bear with me. I hope that this information is really helpful to someone listening out there, so that you can revamp your practice if something is missing, like you are doing a protection spell but you didn't clean your environment, you didn't clean your energetic spaces, because there's usually a loophole in the way you're thinking, or the way you're feeling, or the way you are seeing something is how these attachments are formed. A subtopic I would like to touch on is the subject of divination tools. Like when many of us are starting our spirituality, practice of spirituality, we are of course introduced to the herbals like the saging, cleansing practices. Oh, rewind. Back to protection. There are many tools for protection. There are cleansing baths, cleansing teas, diet modifications for those of us to who it applies, clean eating, monitoring what comes in and what goes out. What information are we consuming? What information are we putting out? Because the energy with which you put it out is how it comes back. So we should I encourage us to be mindful of that. So the tools I'm talking about are tarot, pendulum, dowsing rods, shells, bones, because before there were tarot cards, our ancestors used shells, beads, they had their way of interpreting the information based on their relationship with spirit, source, or the deities that they were working with. Here is where I want to just give a word of advice. I don't want to say caution, because I'm not like warning you, scaring you, or anything like that. It's just a word of advice that it is very important to establish relationships, proper relationship with your psychology, your emotional body, with your physical body, with the earth, your higher self, and any deities you work with before jumping into tarot. The problem is a lot of us have consumed a lot of data on YouTube about spirituality, and we want to jump straight into getting tarot cards. We want to get pendulums. We want to get runes. We want to do our crystal grids, while there is absolutely nothing wrong with the practice. The power with which you feed it is what determines what comes back to you. If you're a negative person, always consuming drama content on the internet, always on the phone exchanging negative energies about people, you will learn quickly that not only is with those energies come back multiplied, but the energies or the ancestors of whoever you're talking about might not want you putting the energy of negativity on the person they are protecting. If the person has a very strong relationship with the ancestors or deities, and you're out there saying all kinds of nasty things about them, they could make you throw up, they could lock your throat chakra. So which is why I emphasize on having good, healthy, balanced relationship with your own energies, with your own psyche, with your own emotions, with your own body, with your own higher self, with your own deities, so that good relationship goes out into the universe and comes back to you multiplied. I hope that makes sense. So don't run out and just go get tarot cards. You can learn tarot. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it, but in my opinion, that would be like putting the cart before the horse. Your mental, physical, social, emotional, psychological balance should come first before you pick up the tools. Okay, I hope I have been able to shed more light on that. And as I've said, if you would like any more expounding on any of the topics I have just given a brief idea about in this video, I would really appreciate your comments in the comment section. And until I see you next time, I love you, you are loved, and I'll talk to you soon.